What's up everyone, my name is Gazzy. Welcome back to the vlog. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been in London and I'm happy to be back here tonight in the Victoria Casino in London. In that couple of weeks I have lost my ability to film myself doing the intro in the street, so I've had to come to the confines, the safety of the casino to do it. Yeah, let's play some cards. Gonna play some 1, 3, 2, 5, 5, 10, 10, 25, whatever we can get into. Let's see what happens. So we're playing 1, 3 to start here. I am in for £1,053. This is a bit of a weird buy-in amount, but I was at 1-2 for 30 minutes or so before this game, playing in a very passive 1-2 game. I played one hand of note. I had pocket aces in middle position, raised it on up to £10. The button makes the call and we go heads up to the flop, which is Queen, Queen 10 rainbow. Like I said, this is a very passive game, so I decide to check my hand and my opponent checks it on back. The turn is the 6 of diamonds and I delay c-bet for £15, trying to get called by hands like pocket 9s, pocket jacks, some 10x, and this older fella is going to put in the delay raise c-bet to £45 with about £45 behind. It is so painful to have to fold aces, even in a 1-2 game for such a small pot, but I do make a very disciplined fold. Like I said, this is the only real hand of note, finishing down a few bucks before moving over to the 1-2 game. My stack is also going to get decimated early on. One thing I love about playing in America is everyone buys in for infinite chips. That means me and my American style buy-in end up acting as a banker for the rest of the table and I lose my big chip stack. It happens every single time. On to our first hand in this 1-3 game. I'm in the big blind with King Jack offsuit. Middle position has raised it on up to £12. It folds all the way around to me and I make the call. We go heads up to the flop. It is ace, king, queen with 2 spades. I've got second pair and a gut shot, so when my opponent c-bets for £20, I of course make the call. The turn is an offsuit king, giving me 3 of a kind. I did debate whether or not to lead out here, but in the end I decide to check it on over to my opponent, see what he wants to do. He wants to just check it on back, unfortunately. To the river, it is the jack of spades. I make a full house, but all the straight and flush draws get there. I did think about check raising, but my opponent is probably going to call a bet with an ace here, so instead of checking and hoping that he bets and then I get to check raise, I decide to just lead out myself and I choose a very large size. I bet out for £100. He leans back in his chair and says, I was going to raise whatever you bet, but I don't think I can now. Obviously talking about my large overbets. He does make the call. I show my hand and he nods his head. Really nice river overbet bluff getting me paid there. I think I see an ace as he mucks his cards. Pretty good run out for me. And next up is one of the most insane hands that I have ever played. I say that a lot to you guys, but this hand is insane. So I've been straddling all night, but this time I forget. I look at my cards as I'm under the gun. I see I've got pocket 8s and I say, oh dealer, I've looked at my cards. Can I still straddle? Clearly just joking, but the Canadian fella on my right is a little bit outraged by this. He says, hey guy, you know you can't do that. I tell him I was joking, but jokes aren't great when you have to explain them. Anyway, I raise my pocket 8s under the gun to £12. Middle position is the guy I played against the last hand. He's going to put in the re-raise to £36. It folds all the way back around to me, and I, of course, make the call. Heads up to the flop. It is King 8-7 with 2 hearts. Really nice flop for me here. My opponent is going to c-bet for £25, and I am going to bust out the check raise. I make it £120 to go. Really happy to see him not snap fold. He thinks for a few seconds and then makes the call. The turn is the 9 of hearts, kind of annoying. All the straight draws, all the flush draws get there. But I think my hand is definitely strong enough to bet. I bet out for £110, 1/3 the size of the pot. And my opponent makes the call. To the river, I thought it was the 3 of hearts for a second, but it's the 3 of diamonds. Now, I've got about £750 behind here. I'm thinking about going all in, but I decide instead to try and milk my opponent. The Instagram comments on my reels, they all love not going all in. They love milking their opponent, so I take their advice this time. I bet out for £385. My opponent sits back in his chair and tells me immediately that he doesn't love it. Good, he doesn't have a flush. He tanks for a very long time. He eventually says to me, I don't think I can fold this hand. I'm thinking, what the hell has this guy got? He then says, top set. I don't think I can fold this hand. I'm like, are you serious? You're seriously sitting there for a £385 bet with top set when I have all the sets that can bet this size? He says it again. You must have it. I don't think I can fold this hand. I don't think this guy is actually considering folding here. So I'm sitting here in silence thinking to myself, I can either sit here and say nothing and this guy is going to call with top set, or I can actually try and talk this guy into folding top set. So here's what I do. I take the chip protector off my cards. I put 2 fingers on either side as if I'm ready to turn them over. I close my eyes, I smile slightly, and I say, come on, buddy, you're not folding top set.
He says, no, seriously, I've got top set. I'm thinking of folding it. I fake laugh ever so slightly. I smile. I close my eyes again. I shake my head and I say, come on, buddy, you're not folding top set. He picks up his cards to show me he's got top set and he says, no, you must have it. Look at this. And folds top set. I cannot believe it. I am sitting there giggling to myself like a schoolgirl. I say to him, do you want to see? He says that he only wants to see if I was value betting a set. So I show him my pocket eights. He leans back and says, oh my God, I thought you had it. I can't believe I just folded that. The whole table is flabbergasted at this. No more than me. I cannot believe this guy has actually folded top set. I am completely stunned. I have just talked this guy out of calling with top set when I have third set. What is happening? To be fair, he takes this very well indeed. This is an unbelievable value bluff from me. I have to run off immediately and tell all my friends about what's just happened. But I get back into the seat 10 minutes later. I look down at Jack 8 of spades in the big blind. Under the gun is limped in for £3. A tight reg is raised to £15 on the button. The small blind makes the call. I make a bit of a loose call here in the big blind, and the limper calls as well. We go multiple ways here to the flop. It is 4 deuce deuce with 2 spades. Decent start for me here with the Jack high flush draw. It checks round to the button and he's going to throw out a c-bet for £40. I, of course, make the call. The limper calls as well. We go 3 ways to the turn, which is a lovely 6 of spades. Really nice turn card for me here. We check it on over to the button, who just checks it back. The river is a really interesting one. It's a double board pairing 4. I am, of course, going to bet out for value here, but I don't think I can go as big on this river. So in the end, I settle on betting out for £100. After about 10 seconds, the limper makes the call. After about 30 seconds, the button rage mucks his hand. I'm guessing he's got aces or kings. Remember, he's a very tight reg. I show my hand. The limper turns his hand over, which is never a good sign, but he's showing me that he's got pocket queens. To be fair, I never expected a hand like that in his range. Maybe I can bet bigger on the river, but still, it's a nice value bet getting paid off here. This 1-3 game has been really good. I'm kind of sad to be leaving it, but we're heading over now to play 5-10 no limit. I'm up £524 so far tonight, hoping to kick on and win a little more in the bigger game here. It doesn't look too bad a game. There's a couple of regular looking fellas, a couple of non-pros, one YouTuber called Gazzy B. Let's win some money. I'm going to buy in here for £1,500. Some of these guys buy in for way more, but I'm an online guy. There's no need for me to buy in for like 3k unless there's a clear spot in the game that I want to cover, but there's not, so we're buying in for £1,500. Into our first hand, we go at the new 5-10 table, picking up ace queen offsuit in the hijack. I raise it on up to £30. The small blind is a very regular looking fella. He puts in the re-raise to £125. Folds back around to me, and I definitely want to 4-bet bluff this sometimes, but I spin the RNG and it lands on call. We go heads up to the flop, which is ace 10-6 with 2 spades. Always nice to make top pair. As expected, my opponent is going to fire out a continuation bet. He bets out for £130. I don't think I can raise just yet. I'm definitely not folding. So I, of course, make the call. The turn is an offsuit 4, and my opponent now checks to me. My hand is definitely strong enough to bet the turn and then shove the river. So I decide to bet out for £375, setting up for a river jam on brick rivers. And I think my hand is for sure strong enough to do so, but no need, as my opponent just lets his hand go. I was definitely shoving it in, but I don't get the chance to do so. After a pretty good start here in the bigger game, and I step outside to take a quick break and chat to the camera. All right, here we are outside the Victoria Casino, taking a little break. Always good to get and stretch the legs and refresh the brain and stuff like that. Been a good night. I started out 1-2, then moved to 1-3. 1-2 was a little tight, 1-3 was hella loose. 5-10 seems okay, but it's been a lot of fun. I haven't actually played in a little while, and one of the reasons for that is, for those that don't know, I'm doing what's called the Select grind on PokerStars this year, which means I have to pay $100,000 in rake, but I'll get 60% of that back. So I've been doing a lot of online grinding, playing 3, 4, 5 hours a day, lots of studying, lots of upswing work, all that stuff. It's been keeping me kind of busy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little break and switch. I do a lot of streaming as well. I'll put a link in the description to this video if you guys are interested. You can check out my poker stream. Let's check out some highlights from one of my more recent online streams. Hope you guys enjoy. What's up, guys? My name is Gary Blackwood, also known as GazzyB123. Today we're playing 500 Zoom, a little bit of 1k NL, maybe some 2k NL if we can get into it. Let's check out some hands. Table 4, we have the kings again working for us here. Bringing out 26 bigs to go. And that is top set. Let's hold that thought though. Table 3, can we make it 2 sets out of 2? Let's peel it out. Ace of clubs, 10 of clubs, 9 of clubs. I do not have the 8 of clubs, so I will be out of there. Let's go back to table 4. My opponent has called. Yeah, I'm going to bet the turn. I think it would be a mistake to check the turn. Very clean river. We only lose to 9-8 of hearts. He folds. Pocket queens. Let's peel it out. 3 of spades, 4 of diamonds, deuce of clubs. My opponent checks to me. I am going to bet my hand. Okay, so my opponent check all flop and I led out. I'm going to call. Oh. Bluffs here, pocket 5s, pocket 6s, some 5-4 suited. The list goes on. My opponent's deep in the tank. I'll let you know if he calls as we come over here with our pocket queens. Can we find a favorable flop? 8-8 jack is pretty good. My opponent unfortunately lets his hand go over here. Table 1, my opponent starts out with a half pot continuation bet. Just one other thing for us to do. Table 2, I don't think jam here. No, I think just call again. That is not a clean river at all. That is really not a clean river. Hopefully he's got ace jack and just gives up. Nope, he sticks it in our eye. Right, we have to think about this one. I'm going to take the headphones off and think about it. I think I'm going to just fold though. Okay, so one really important factor to consider is that we actually block ace queen with the ace of diamonds. So we block a lot of his bluffs. We don't have a diamond ourselves, so we don't block much value. I think fold. I think call with a diamond, fold without it. Pocket queens is not great here because one of his main bluffs is ace queen with the ace of diamonds and we block it. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and fold. Queens without a diamond is a pretty clear fold. Fun hand. As we get the aces in pre versus the kings. Chop it up. No chop. Table 2, my opponent shoves. I will fold. Table 3, I have open pre and check called flop. I feel like I have a really nice candidate to check raise the turn with, but maybe spades are better. Spun for a 25% check raise. I'm just going to have a little look in the simulation afterwards. What's a better check raise on the turn there? I think my hand is going to be one of our main check raises. Shove here would be sexy. And again, same logic as the turn. I feel like it's one of our best bluffs. Gone really well for us. Gone really, really well for us. So I want to buy it off of Sci Fiasco and give it to Borich. All the money just leads to Borich and Sunny 92 and the eye poker and Milanov. My opponent checks me. I think Ads plays very well and he's just not going to have much of a folding range. Never mind all that though, because we're all in with the queens against kings. For reals. Can we find a lady? Can we find a little mamacita? No mamacita. Never mind table 4 though, we're coming back to table 1. We will be coming back to table 4, I'm sure of it. So it's kind of tempting to check raise with so much equity, but I lean towards checking hands like ace, queen of hearts with nut flush draws as opposed to jack high flush draws. Prefer to just bet it myself. Does that make sense? But when my opponent raises, I'll just see a showdown pile. Well for us lads. Pretty good to win the first one and pretty good to win the second one. Let's go. Plays his hand and not his range. Like if he's got aces, is he going to do that? I don't think so. But anyway, King 5 deuce rainbow. I am going to start out with a C bet here of 1/3. Some people like to bet half. Some people like to play some checks. I will not play any checks if there's a flush draw possible. And I only have one of the sets. I'll play some checks. Mixing on the turn, given it's pure rainbow, I think it's good. There you have it. And now we're going to tank like, oh, what do we do with our ace jack? Still got the effect of nuts. Oh, ace 3 obviously, but kind of unlikely. I'll jump out the window and let you guys see it. Oh, that is a cooler. All right, back fresh after that break and ready to grind it out. Picking up pocket 8s in the small blind. A pro is raised to £25 under the gun. It folds all the way around to me. I make the call. The big blind is a businessman-looking fella who also makes the call. We go 3 ways to the flop. It is Jack 8-3 rainbow. This is another really nice flop for me here, flopping middle set. Am I going to have to turn this one into a bluff? Under the gun is going to see bet for £30. My hand definitely wants to raise quite often, but I decide to just call this time. It keeps my range nice and wide, and it keeps the big blind in the pot. Unfortunately, the big blind is just going to get out the way here. We're going heads up to the turn, which is the ace of clubs bringing a flush draw. This is a really nice card for my opponent to continue to barrel. I check it on over to him. Disappointingly, though, he's just going to check it on back. The river is an offsuit 6, and my hand is very disguised here. I look very bluffy if I check raise here, and I want to let my opponent value bet some hands like pocket pocket queens, pocket kings, king jack, all these types of hands that are going to check back the turn. So I get a little sneaky here and check to my opponent. Happy to see him reach for chips. He bets out for £75. I'm thinking for a few seconds and I decide that I am very, very polarized when I check raise here. So I go for a huge check raise size. I make it £600 to go. This might look massive, but I played a fair bit with this guy online. I know he's very good. I know he's very capable of thinking I'm bluffing here and making some light calls. And as mentioned, I'm very, very polarized here. So I go for the big size of £600. My opponent goes deep into the tank. I'm praying for a call, but he just lets it go. I can guarantee if I was check raise bluffing online, he would snap call with a second pair, but we're playing live tonight, and he just lets it go. Pocket pairs have been really, really good for me so far tonight, and for the first time tonight, I'm going to pick up a couple of mamacitas. This time I'm in middle position. Under the gun has raised it on up to £25. I, of course, put in the re-raise. I make it £85 to go. It falls all the way back around to under the gun, who is going to put in the re-raise. He makes it £250 to go. We're like £2,200 deep here, so I don't think we can just 5-bet shove in these positions in a full ring game. So I decide to just call. Heads up to the flop with a pretty decent amount of money in there. It is Jack 10 deuce rainbow. Happy to see no ace, no king, and even happier to see my opponent check it on over to me. I decide to stab my hand here for a very small size. Kind of standard in these 4-bet pots, you want to use really small sizes. I bet it for £130. My opponent doesn't take too long before making the call. The turn is the 9 of clubs, flush draw now possible. And my opponent, of course, checks it on over to me again. It feels really close here, but I decide to bet again, this time for £380. I'm not sure if this is too thin. Maybe we want to check back the turn here and bet some rivers when checked to. My opponent thinks for a few seconds and then makes the call. To the river we go. It is the 8 of clubs. I, of course, make a queen high straight, but there are some backdoor flush combos my opponent can have. Hands like ace, king of clubs are definitely viable here. He checks to me again, and I think we just have one option. We're not too deep. It's not like an overbet shove or anything like that. I decide to go for some pretty thin value here. I move all in. Not sure what I can get called by, but with the queen of clubs in my hand, I think it's just about okay to move all in here. My opponent asks for a count. Really happy he didn't just snap call a hand like ace, king of clubs. The dealer counts it out. It is £1,250. My opponent goes deep into the tank. I am willing him to call it off. I am trying to make myself look as nervous as possible. Can he just be a hero with a hand like aces or kings one time and let me win this huge pot? In the end, he decides to fold. Really disappointing. I thought he was going to make a bit of a hero call. Not sure what I was trying to get called by there. I actually think he had a hand like kings or aces, and maybe he was thinking of making the hero call, but he does just let it go. Off to a really nice start here at 5-10, building up my stack to just under £3,000. Not playing this Jack 9 offsuit you can see on your screen from the small blind, unfortunately. But definitely going to play this king jack of diamonds in the hijack here. I raise it on up to £75 because we're doing a round of straddles. The button is the online reg kid who I had the set of 8s versus earlier at 5-10. He's going to put in the re-raise to £250. It folds all the way around to me, and I definitely want to 4-bet this hand sometimes, but I decide to just call this time. We go heads up to the flop, swing and a miss for me. It is 10-7-3 rainbow. I do have some backdoor opportunities here, and maybe we get to realize some of them when my opponent just checks it on back. The turn is the ace of hearts. Unfortunately for me, I'm going to check to my opponent now, and he's going to bet out for £275. This is the end of the hand for me here. I can't really do anything with diamonds. I want to have hearts for maximum equity when I want to check raise. Bit of a swing and a miss there, made all the bigger by the straddle being on. I get through the rest of the round of straddles unscathed, and next up I pick up ace jack offsuit in the big blind. Under the gun is a businessman looking fellow who raises it on up to £30. It folds all the way around to me, and I of course defend the big blinds. Heads up to the flop, it is queen jack 9 with 2 hearts. I'm going to check to my opponent, who's going to see bet here for £50, and I make the call. Very standard stuff so far. The turn is the 6 of spades, bringing a double flush draw. I check to my opponent, and he now bets again, this time for £100. Given he is under the gun, this feels a little bit dicey with second pair, but lots of draws, and he's a businessman, so he could just have anything. So I, of course, make the call. The river is a really disastrous 10 of hearts. Lots of draws complete. Straights get there, flushes get there. And when I check to my opponent, he bets again, this time for £200. I fake tank for about 15 seconds or so, just to give him a little sweat. In the end, I show him that I'm folding a jack, and he turns over 5-3 of diamonds. This is an absolute sicko raise and triple from under the gun. Really respect the heart shown from my opponent from this one. Not long after this hand, I decide that I am done for the night. The game was quite good, but it's now gotten a little more reggae. A couple of online boys have sat down, and I don't want to get bonk 30'd any more than I need to. So I tap the table and rack up my chips, finally booking a win playing live.
Alright guys, we're all done. A rare live poker win for Gazzy V. It feels great, not gonna lie, to stop the rot and win some money playing live. Full results on screen, yearly live tracker on screen, slowly climbing out of the hole. Life is good. If you guys have enjoyed the show, click the sub button, you guys know the drill. Yeah, that's it. Until next time, take it easy.